Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Brokers Open Podcast. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, the Doctor of Flow. I'm here with the big guy, as always, Matt Vi, real estate extraordinaire.
Yeah.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Living the dream. Living the dream. Love bringing this topic to the audience. You know, we can't have enough good conversations about leads and how to do it the right way, especially in a market that's possibly looking at some shifting coming down the pike.
Yep, you're exactly right. So, we're gonna be talking about leads today.
Yep.
Right. And there's different stages. You know, how to take
Yep.
care of them, and that's specifically. We're gonna go through the 3 stages, and tell you guys, like, once you got these leads coming in, what are you supposed to do with them? How are you supposed to convert them? How are you supposed to turn these into dollars and transactions?
Right.
So before we do that, hit that follow button or that subscribe button wherever you're watching. Go to brokersopenpodcast.com. Sign up for our monthly newsletter. We'll send you some real estate tips, tricks, and hacks straight to your inbox. Help you close more deals. I hope you close more deals as well.
Right.
But help you close more deals and transactions and put more revenue or money on your bottom line.
Yep.
So Matt, these are early, mid, and late.
Yep.
Right. So nurturing a lead in the early stage, what does that look like?
Yeah, so that's whenever you can when you can get a lot more information to them that is about the process that you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what I mean by that. If you've got so let's say that you're having a conversation and the seller says, you know what, I'm going to list next month. You're my agent. I'd love to use you, but I'm going to fix the house up a little bit and I'm going to do this, that, and the other, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if you just ignore them and wait until later and circle back, not only are you taking a chance that they're going to move on to someone else, right? Someone else swoop in and get them, right?
Yep.
But the other thing that's happening is you're giving up the chance to have a better relationship with them.
Yeah.
A more informed relationship with them. And a more informed relationship, one that helps them more comfortably go through the transaction, is one that's more likely to refer you to someone else. Okay?
Yep.
So early stage, so a seller, do you go over the listing contract with them, right? Do you actually or do you just say, hey, this helps me get started, sign here, right?
Yeah.
So, having that conversation with them about the listing contract. Do you talk about the purchase contract with them, right? Or if you're early stage, having the conversation about, whenever we get an offer, here's the 3 things we're going to be using this type of contract. Here's the big 3 things that really come out in the inspection portion of this, right? Flood insurance is going to come up and all these things. Having some of those conversations on the front end, if you get them from an early stage, you can start that education process, which is going to make everything else go smoother. Not that the transaction can't go smoother. If you catch up with them mid-stage, we'll talk about in just a second. You catch up with them late stage, we'll talk about that in just a second. But it allows you to be it allows you to inform them in a way that just makes the whole transaction just go a little more comfortable, a little more smoothly because they're a little more prepared for it. We know that when people are more prepared, they ultimately enjoy the transaction better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Who doesn't in anything they do, right?
Yeah.
So, imagine us coming here with no topic.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, luckily we do because of you, man. So
Right.
let's go on. Let's go on to the next one, the middle stage. What does that look like? Right. They're informed on the process.
Yep. Yeah. So let's say they're informed on the process, right? So sometimes, part of the reason why we're talking about this is sometimes people come to you mid-stage. Okay. Here's what
gotcha.
I mean. Here's what I mean mid-stage. So let's say that a listing expires, right?
Right.
And expires, and your neighbor says, hey, Ben, you got to go talk to Matt. His listing just expired, and he'd never use that agent again, ever and again in his whole life.
Yeah.
And he said he needs to get the property sold. That's mid stage, right? If you walk into that seller's house and you go, okay, Mr. Seller, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to slow down and I'm going to talk about the listing contract with you, and then we're going to talk about the contract. And they're like, wait a minute, I just signed a listing contract. I just had to look through the listing contract to make sure that I could talk to you. We had 2 offers that didn't go through. I've seen the contract. What the hell are we talking about all that for?
Yeah.
Right? You're gonna lose them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And they're gonna say that's not really where I'm at. That's not what I'm focused on. So that's kind of a mid-stage person. Okay. So the mid-stage person needs to talk about briefly the failures that they don't need to go through again. That's what you're going to focus on mid-stage. So sometimes you'll have a buyer walk into an open house, and the buyer walks into the open house and they say something, they say like, I really like this house and everything. You say you're working with an agent. Yeah, I was, but I had to let them go yesterday, right? We lost a house. They weren't paying attention, all that kind of stuff. That's why I'm out searching today. At that point, you can't go back to early stage like they don't know anything about the transaction. At that point, you need to catch up really quick. You need to get up to speed really quick, and you need to say, okay, tell me what you've been through at this point. Tell me what it is that you're looking for. Let's get you up to speed as quickly as possible. Let's get me up to speed as quickly as possible so that I'm sure that we're in the right place in the transaction. You can't skip the importance of those early stage items. You just can't dwell on them and take your time getting that point across and building connection through those early stage things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you also need to ensure too, like, what were they taught in their early stage,
right?
And is that accurate?
Absolutely.
And that's why they're there with you.
Absolutely.
Mid stage.
Absolutely. Well. And brand is a little less important at this point. Okay. In the beginning, brand and reputation is a little more important. At this point, brand and reputation is a little bit less important. Okay.
Like brokerage brand or agent brand?
Both. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So because they know they've got some exposure already, they know what they want. And so they're looking for what the person is going to do instead of what the preconceived notion of what that brand is going to bring.
Gotcha.
You follow me?
Yep, absolutely.
So you need to, I'm not saying ignore it. I'm not saying don't talk about it. That's not what I said. Okay. But it's just not as relevant as it is in that early stage.
Yeah.
That early stage, it's helping build that whole story. Okay.
Yep.
Right now, they're like, look, I just opened up to the middle. You caught up with them, and they're in the middle of the book. Okay.
Yeah.
Character development has already happened.
Yeah.
They're in the thick of the plot at this point. Right.
Yeah.
You need to catch up to speed really quickly. Make sure that you understand what the plot is to make sure that they get to the end of the story the way that they want and have success with their transaction.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just like any story, the nurture stages has an ending.
Right.
Or a late stage, what we're going to call it.
Right.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So this is more like so sometimes like a team leader has a team member on the team and somebody else has to come into the transaction, right?
Yeah.
Or a broker comes up to you and says, hey, listen, so and so just left the company. We've got this listing. It's under contract. I need you to are you interested in kind of taking it over, right?
Yeah.
Or there's something going on with a broker and with an agent, and the broker has to come up to them and they have to say, okay, listen, I just talked to the seller. They don't ever want to deal with you again. They don't ever want to see you again. The buyer doesn't ever want to see you again, right? And for what it's worth, in 25 years of doing this, 99 times out of 100, 99% of the issue is with the client.
Yeah.
But who cares?
Right.
It still has to change.
Yes.
Right. And so the broker comes in and says, listen, I just listened to 45 minutes worth of through my phone to the side of my head, right?
Right.
So we're going to have to make a shift. Here's how I want to handle that. And somebody else is going to be stepping into that situation. That's late stage.
Yeah.
Right. So late stage is very little focus on the problem, high focus on the solution.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
Early stage and mid stage, you can say, well, here's the problem, and let's take a look at that, and why is that a problem, and what's going on with that. But late stage, you're pretty much like, okay, screw the problem for the most part, right? I'm going to take it from right here, and I'm going to fix it going forward. We are close. Let's get it across the finish line.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone knows at the end of a marathon, you're exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you're walking or you're the guy that's trying to break, 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows you're exhausted. The key at that point is to not focus on that exhaustion.
Yeah.
The key at that point is to get across the damn finish line. Make your legs move. Do whatever it is that you need to do in order to get those extra steps. That's what needs to happen in that late stage situation.
Yeah, what do they say? Like a marathon is ran in the last mile or something like that.
Well, they jokingly say a half marathon is 22 miles because the last 4.1 is the hardest.
Yeah, yeah. You used to run marathons all the time, right?
Not all the time, but I've
run. You've done something like that. Yeah,
I used to run a lot, but I did run a marathon. A friend said, "Hey, somebody dropped out and didn't want to do it, and we got 2.5 months or whatever it was before you want to run a marathon. We're getting ready to start the training." I was like, "Yeah, what can it be?" Yeah,
yeah.
Whatever.
I've never ran a marathon.
Yeah. Oh, I know you used to train for them. You used to train for triathlons, right?
Yeah, like 5Ks, 10Ks, halves. I've done that. Yeah. I've never done a full marathon.
Yeah,
but I'm really thinking one of these days I won't.
Coming around the corner, heading into the thing. My brother was my brother runs marathons all the time. He had a bunch of friends that were running this particular one. So he was on a bike riding back and forth, kind of talking to everybody, keeping their head on. And I was running in with my with the friend that tricked me into this, and my brother David says, as we come around the corner here, there's this big huge puddle, right, and there's water, and it was 30 degrees outside. It was raining, all that kind of shit. Yeah. And he goes, there's this big puddle, you don't want to run through that. You're going to get cold. It's going to ruin your shoes. And I said, man, it don't matter if it ruins these shoes. As soon as I get home, I'm taking these things off and throwing them away.
Yeah. These shoes are ruined.
Yeah. These
mentally
shoes ruined
forever. Yeah.
Yeah. I for a marathon, I just don't have any. I'd love to be in shape to do a half marathon. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
5 and 10Ks. Absolutely. I think that's awesome. Go do something on a Saturday and be in shape to kind of run through that. Yeah. I think that's great. But a marathon is a whole different level, let alone an ultra and all that kind of stuff, and triathlons and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I ever wanted to get in shape, I always trained. I went through training for triathlons.
Yeah.
I've never done a triathlon in my entire life.
Right.
But if I was like, man, I'm putting on a few little extra LBs.
Right.
I need to get in shape. I just got this book of training programs for triathlons, and that's where I'd always go. And it's just I'd always end up being like in the best shape ever. But I never used it other than I just needed to get healthy. So guys, you guys need to get healthy in your real estate business if you're not already.
And if you are, you can get healthier.
Yeah, you can.
If you can run a marathon in your business, it's time for an ultra.
Yeah, it's time for an ultra. Or be an Iron Man or an Iron Woman.
That's exactly right.
Yep. So, one way to do that is listen to this podcast. The easiest way to listen to it is make sure you get notified every time that we have an episode coming out. If you're listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, hit that follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that red subscribe button and that bell right beside of it. Matt, it's Brokers Open Podcast, man. It's not just about open houses.
It's about open minds, Ben. Thanks, guys.